In the summer of 1986, the small town of Lewistown, Montana, with roughly 6,500 residents, was the backdrop of a tragic shooting involving 14-year-old Christopher Hans. His parents had divorced, leading to a bitter custody dispute. His father, a school psychologist living in Casper, Wyoming, generally had custody, while Hans stayed with his mother during this period. There is evidence to suggest that Hans's father emotionally maltreated him, adding to his troubled background. That summer, Hans was with his mother in Lewistown because arrangements had been made that autumn he would transfer to Fergus County High School, living with his mother as his father had deemed him a problem. He was warned that earning even a single failing grade could force him back into his father's custody. Despite his struggles, Hans excelled at most subjects, with the exception of French Second, which he was thrown into directly after middle school, skipping French Lafrine as his father ordered. Naturally, this jump caused him difficulty. From his early teens, Hans developed violent and homicidal tendencies. He showed a pattern of animal cruelty and physical aggression toward siblings and half-siblings. During that school term, he secretly obsessed with killing his French teacher, Léavan Simonfi, even confessing plans to several peers. Yet, no one believed that he truly intended to carry out such a murder. On December 4th, 1986, Hans brought his father's .44 caliber revolver to school concealed in his backpack. At approximately 1:20 in the afternoon, he approached the classroom where a student was present behind a darkened door as the class was watching a movie. Hans requested that the teacher come to the door. When she responded, he shot her point blank in the face, instantly killing her. However, it was not Léavan Simonfi, but Henrietta Smith, a 40-year-old substitute teacher who was in the gym helping with a girls' basketball tournament at the time. After executing the shooting, Hans encountered Vice Principal John Moffat, who had heard the gunshot and rushed to the scene. Hans shot Moffat in the abdomen and then aimed his gun at Moffat's head, firing and missing. The ricochet from the shot struck two students, causing minor injuries. Without hesitation, Hans fled a mile towards his home, but was soon apprehended by authorities. Moffat survived his injuries. In May of 1988, Hans pleaded guilty to deliberate homicide and attempted homicide. Despite being only 14 during the crime, he was sentenced to a sentence of 206 years in prison. During his incarceration, he obtained his high school equivalency diploma and earned a degree in English. He worked various jobs, including serving on a wildland firefighting crew. Hans was paroled in 2015 at age 43, after serving nearly 3 decades behind bars. Following release, he moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, where he enrolled at university and graduated with a degree in biology. He then worked as a college teaching assistant. Eventually, Hans settled in Omaha, where he works as an arborist. He has a daughter with a woman he no longer visits. In a 1999 interview, Hans explained that his shooting was not motivated by personal grievance. Instead, he admitted that he harbored homicidal urges and fantasized about randomly stabbing strangers in the street. His perspective shifted after reading Rage, a novel by Richard Bachman, Stephen King's pseudonym, first published in 1977, and later included in the collection The Bachman Books in 1985. The story revolves around a high school senior named Charlie Decker, who murders his algebra teacher in front of classmates and then holds the school hostage. Hans stated that this book inspired him to attack a teacher himself. He chose the French teacher because he had devised a plan tailored to her classroom, which he deemed suitable at the time. As of the time of this recount, Christopher Hans was approximately 53 years old. Moving to another tragic incident, there is Will Cornick, a student from Corpus Christi Catholic College in Leeds, England. The school had been his alma mater for over 4 decades, and Maguire, the teacher involved, had been employed there for 37 years. She was married for nearly 4 decades and was a mother of 4, 2 biological children and 2 nephews she adopted after her sister's death. In April of 2014, Maguire was just 5 months away from retirement. On April 28th, she was teaching Spanish to the 11th grade. After her lesson, some students, including 15-year-old Will Cornick, were permitted to work in another classroom. Cornick had a history of being a well-behaved student, but a notable incident had occurred months earlier. After neglecting to complete his homework, he received detention, which made him ineligible for a school trip to a bowling alley. Instead of serving detention, he skipped it and went bowling, leading to his removal from class for the day. On the morning of April 28th, Cornick brought an 8-inch knife from his backpack into the classroom. He approached Maguire from behind while she was assisting another student and stabbed her in the neck and back. Maguire managed to escape, but Cornick caught up and continued stabbing her. She evaded him again and was taken to a separate room by another teacher, who closed the door behind her. Cornick then returned to his seat in the classroom, calmly remarking, "Good times." He expressed that he thought he had just stabbed the teacher but hoped she was not dead, indicating a disturbing sense of satisfaction and excitement he felt during the act. Afterward, 2 teachers escorted him to the school office, where he sat calmly, engaging in casual conversation as if nothing had happened. When police arrived to arrest him, Cornick smiled at the officers. Anne Maguire, aged 61, was placed in an ambulance after being stabbed 7 times. She died en route to the hospital. Cornick confessed to the murder, revealing that his initial plan included killing 2 other teachers, one of whom was pregnant, and he intended to stab her in the abdomen. Ultimately, however, he decided to target only Maguire. He admitted to hating her but could not provide a rational reason for this intense animosity. In a long-standing harbor of intense resentment, he confessed to having harbored hatred toward her for many years. When authorities searched Cornick's backpack, they discovered not only a larger knife, but also a smaller one concealed inside a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey. Cornick claimed he had brought the alcohol to celebrate. Further investigation uncovered shocking details. At least 10 of Cornick's friends were aware of his plans to kill Maguire. He had explicitly told a friend on Facebook that he intended to murder her, and in the same message, expressed his expectation of spending the rest of his life behind bars. Additionally, he solicited another friend to record the act for him. On the day of the attack, he showed several people the knife, and just before the murder, he pulled it from his bag, displayed it to a friend, and winked. Then he entered the classroom to stab Maguire. Witnesses said they never believed he would actually go through with it, describing Cornick's sense of humor as dark and peculiar. After seeing the weapon, some friends contemplated intervening, but Cornick threatened to kill them if they did. Following his arrest, a psychological assessment revealed that Cornick refused to see his actions as wrong. He expressed pride and happiness in having killed Maguire, fully aware that he would face a lengthy prison sentence, which he regarded as an acceptable price for her death. In November 2014, Will Cornick admitted guilt for the murder and received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 20 years. McGuire's murder marked the first recorded instance in English history where a teacher was killed in her classroom by a student. Turning to another tragic case, in the fall of 2013, Michael Lansbury, a seasoned Marine with over 22 years of service and more than 25 awards, was teaching algebra at Sparks Middle School in Sparks, Nevada. Lansbury, who had also served with the Nevada Air National Guard, began his teaching career at Sparks Middle in 2006. Beyond the classroom, he coached girls soccer, volleyball, and boys basketball at the local high school. Married for about 5 years, he was a stepfather to 2 girls. Among his students was 12-year-old José Rose, born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, nearly dying at birth. Rose faced numerous challenges: speech difficulties requiring professional help, reading at the level of a second grader, and basic math skills of a first grader. He struggled socially, often believing that classmates were mocking him when they laughed, a suspicion some thought might be linked to autism. His family life was unstable. His father, a restaurant owner, was violent towards Rose's mother, and at one point, his father moved out, living with a woman with whom he was having an affair. Reyes's mother believed her arranged husband might harm her, yet they eventually reunited. On October 21, 2013, a 12-year-old named José Reyes was dropped off at school by his mother. Within about 10 minutes, he was overheard talking with a group of boys. Suddenly, he became agitated, demanding to know why they were laughing at him and mocking him. Without warning, he drew his father's 9mm handgun and started shooting. He injured one boy in the shoulder and aimed at another, but did not fire. Moving across the schoolyard, he confronted a different student, pointing the gun at his chest. At this critical moment, 55-year-old Michael Lansbury intervened, placing himself between Reyes and the student. Lansbury commanded Reyes to lower the weapon, but was shot in the chest when Reyes ignored the warning. Seizing the distraction, the student managed to escape. Reyes then shot another boy in the abdomen before walking away and turning the gun on himself. The 2 students he wounded survived with injuries that were not life-threatening, but Lansbury succumbed to his wounds. Regarded as a hero, Lansbury's actions earned him respect and recognition. Prior to arriving at school that morning, Reyes had written 2 notes, one addressed to his parents and another to staff and classmates. His letter to his parents expressed profound self-doubt, self-hatred, and extremely low self-esteem. He insisted that his actions were not prompted by bullying, but offered no coherent explanation for bringing the gun to school. In his note to the school staff and students, he confessed to feelings of rage, claiming it was revenge for what he perceived as their mistreatment of him. At just 12 years old, José Reyes stands among the youngest school shooters in American history.